This is the exact food I bring for 3 days of backpacking. No prep, no extras, no dead weight. I've logged 100 plus solo backpacking trips and over 3,000 miles on the trail. This is my proven 3-day food system. And stick around, I'll also give you a free backpacking calorie calculator so you'll never pack too much or too little again. So my food system on trail is pretty efficient. I have a simple no-cook breakfast. I pretty much snack all day instead of having a lunch, and I only boil water once for dinner. Everything else is grab and go. Well, except for coffee. For me, that's the sweet spot. I don't waste time cooking, I don't carry a mess kit, and I don't end every night scrubbing dishes in the dirt. Instead, I've got quick food when I need it, steady energy throughout the day, and one hot meal to look forward to at camp. Now, this system doesn't have a ton of variety. It's built for repeatability. Could you get fancy with some trail recipes? Sure. But I'd rather spend those miles hiking or enjoying a sunset at camp than chopping veggies on a log. Day one is always the easiest to plan because I eat breakfast at home before I leave. And what I usually do is just grab some fast food on the way out, maybe some burgers or some Chipotle, something that doesn't require any prep. And while it's not the most nutritious option, it makes the transition from town to trail a little easier. But for the purpose of this video, I've laid out a full 3 days of backpacking food so you can see exactly what it all looks like. So my breakfast starts with Ezekiel whole grain cinnamon raisin English muffins. Now these aren't the dry, thin English muffins you find in the bread aisle. These are thicker, dense, and you'll usually find them in the refrigerated section at the grocery store. They've got enough calories to feel like real fuel, and they don't crumble into dust in your food bag. I pair the muffins with some dried fruit, and my go-to pick is dried mango. I've tried a lot of dried fruit, and mango is the one I come back to because it packs flat, it's sweet enough to feel like a treat, and it just never gets old for me. But any dried fruit works. And for some healthy fat, I'll bring individual snack packs of cheddar cheese. Now, usually I'll go with sharp or extra sharp cheddar because it lasts longer, but on this particular trip, my store was out of stock, so I just got regular cheddar. These cheese packs will usually hold up for a few days without refrigeration, especially in cooler temps. At least that's been my experience. And I always round out breakfast with 2 scoops of chocolate protein powder. Getting protein on the trail can sometimes be a bit of a challenge, and this is one of the easiest way to get quick protein and calories right out of the gate. And to get that protein powder into my bottle easier, I use a little DIY trick. I cut the top off of a spare Smart Water bottle and use it as a funnel. And then I actually use the coupling from my Sawyer Squeeze water filter to screw it onto the main bottle. It's a simple hack, but it saves me from trying to dump protein powder into that tiny opening and wearing half of it on my shirt. For food during the day, I don't stop for a sit-down lunch anymore. These days, I'll just snack my way through the day. One of my staples is more of those whole grain English muffins. I'll tear them in half, eat them plain, or stack them with some cheese for something closer to like a sandwich. And I keep more dried fruit in my hip belt pocket throughout the day. And then I pack 2 different types of bars. First, Bobo's bars. These are whole grain bars that are pretty tasty and give you slower burning carbs. Then, Nugo protein bars. These have protein and chocolate, but they taste a bit more like a legit chocolate bar. Between the two, I've got variety and a mix of fast and steady fuel. For additional protein and salts, I'll bring some beef jerky or some beef sticks. They're durable, they don't melt, and they break up the sweetness of all those fruits and bars. And lastly, I'll usually carry a packet of Gatorade powder, especially if it's going to be a long or a hot day. It's light, gives you a boost of sugar, has electrolytes, and sometimes the taste just helps morale after drinking plain water all day. So that's what I'm eating throughout the day. It's nothing glamorous, but everything can be stored in my hip belt pockets or my DIY side pouch so that I can access all the food whenever I need it without stopping to take off my pack. And if you're finding this kind of food breakdown helpful, I've got more videos just like like it, so consider subscribing if you haven't already. All right, dinner is where I make my one real hot meal, and my favorites are Packet Gourmet dehydrated meals. They're lightweight, they taste shockingly good for trail food, and they actually fill me up. My personal two favorites are the Big Easy Cajun Gumbo and Dottie's Chicken and Dumplings. And preparation is super easy. Just boil some water, pour it in, and wait about 10 minutes, done. Then I'll usually pair that with some more cheese or some fruit as kind of like a dessert. And if it's in the colder seasons or I just want to finish the day with something kind of cozy, I'll make a cup of hot chocolate. And then that's pretty much what I eat every day. Now, one thing you'll notice with this food system is that there aren't really any vegetables. And that's a trade-off I've just come to accept. And if you did want to get some vegetables on trail, you could bring some dehydrated veggie mixes to like throw in some ramen or something, or you could consider something like bringing some green food powder. Although in my experience, this stuff doesn't always taste that great. It kind of tastes like you're just eating a spoonful of dirt, but it's a solid option to get some veggies. And then alongside my main food, I always bring a few extras. One of those things on this trip happens to be a bottle of hot sauce. Full bottle of hot sauce, so we're gonna get spicy with this burrito here. This is where the comfort items live. For me, it starts with some instant coffee, because sipping coffee in the morning on a backpacking trip is one of my favorite things to do. And I'll bring in a little packet of stevia to sweeten it. Then I throw in a few packs of some herbal tea for evenings when I still want something warm to drink, but I don't want the caffeine. For electrolytes and recovery, I'll bring a few Noon tablets. These are electrolyte tablets, and my personal favorite is the cherry lemonade flavor. It's got a little bit of caffeine in it and it really helps on hot days. And I'll also carry a few emergency packets. They don't weigh much, they help to kind of flavor my water, and it's a good way to get some vitamin C. And that's the complete food system. Breakfast, snacks, dinners, and a few extras. Now, if you're thinking, yeah, but how do I know how much food I actually need? Well, I made a free backpacking calorie calculator that you can use. Just plug in your trip length, mileage, and a few details, and it'll give you a ballpark calorie target. It's free, and I'll throw the link down below. But the food only works if you've got the right way to store it and the right setup to heat water. So let me walk you through the gear that makes this system run, and I'll link everything I use down below in case you want to check them out. For food storage, I usually go with one of two options. If I'm not in bear country, I like to use a lock sack bag. It's a heavy duty Ziploc bag specifically made for food storage. It's lightweight, waterproof, and helps reduce food smells, which is usually enough in non-bear country. Then I'll usually just throw that in like a random stuff sack and call it done. And if I'm going somewhere where a bear canister is required, like the Sierras, I'll bring my Bear Vault 500 bear canister. It's bulky and definitely weighs a few pounds, but when it's required, it's a high quality bear canister that has never let me down. For cooking, my stove of choice is the MSR Pocket Rocket 2. It's compact, pretty ultralight, reliable, and boils water fast. I pair that with my Toaks Titanium 750 milliliter pot, which is big enough to boil up to 3 cups of water and also allows me to pour a mega pint of coffee in the morning. For my utensils, I bring a Toaks Titanium long handled spork, which really comes in clutch when eating out of dehydrated meal bags as opposed to a traditional shorter length spork. Everything nests perfectly together in the Toaks pot: a fuel canister, my stove, a piece of aluminum foil that I use as a windscreen, a lighter, and my funnel. This keeps my cook kit in one compact bag that's easy to access. So that's the full system: all my food, a few extras, my storage system, and my cook kit. It's not fancy or splashy, but I've been using this setup for a few years now, and it works perfectly for my needs. And if you missed my last video where I break down exactly how to plan and calculate how much food you need for a backpacking trip, it's right here and it's the perfect next step. So hope this helped you get some ideas for your own food setup. Remember to eat well out there, and I'll see you on the trail.